Guys, good morning everyone. Till now, so far we covered the topics. We are discussing the OOP part number one, right? So in the OOP part number one, so I will give the summary. What are the topics we covered so far? We discussed the class and object, and next we done the discussion with the types of methods and types of variables and types of methods. Okay, types of variables and types of methods. So in the types of methods also we done the, the discussion with
Sir,
the
please join voicemail.
okay fine. In types of methods we done the discussion with the combinations, methods combinations. Okay, so total we have the four combinations actually. Total four combinations. Okay, so after the combinations we done with the methods deals with the objects. Methods deals with objects. So in the real-time scenarios, every method we can deal with the object only. Our data will be stored in the form of object only. Okay, after that we discussed methods deal with arrays. There we will take the multiple classes, all the multiple classes we will store in the array. Okay, so how will you retrieve the array data? We will use the for each loop. So through that you can retrieve the data. So these are the in the last session in the OOPS we discussed these are the topics: class and object, types of variables, types of methods, combinations. Method deals with the object and methods deals with the arrays. Okay. Okay, once you get the clarity on this area, then we'll go to constructors. Constructors. The basic question is they will ask what is constructor? Could you please explain? That is the basic question, right? So basically, what is constructor meaning? So constructor is a special method in Java. Okay, constructor is a special method in Java. Special method. Special method in Java, which is used to initialize the instance variables of the current class. Initialize the instance variables of the current class. Are you guys clear with my point? Initialize the instance variables of the current class. So generally, we have the three types of variables, right? Instance variables, static variables, and local variables. Instance variables initialization is optional, right? So you can pass the values by using the constructors. We can pass the values by using the constructors. Okay. So the main purpose of the constructors is constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize the instance variables of the class. Instance variables of the class. Okay. Okay, while writing the constructor, we need to follow the two rules. What are the two rules? First rule is class name and constructor name should be the same. Class name and constructor name should be same. Constructor name should be same. Should be same. Okay. And what is the rule number two? Constructor shouldn't have the constructor shouldn't have written type. Constructors should not have written type. Even void also written type. Okay, even void also. So while writing the constructor we have to follow two statements. Class name and constructor name should be the same. Constructor should not have the written type. Even void also. Even void also. So what is the syntax for the constructor? I will show you syntax for the constructor. Syntax. So normally you already aware of how to write the class, and the class name is the demo, and from here to here this is the scope of the class. Okay, this is you guys are already aware. Now while writing the constructor, what is the first rule? Class name and constructor name should be the same. Class name is the demo and constructor name is also demo. Why? Because according to the rule number 1, class name and constructor name should be the same. Okay, and then next, this is also a special method, right? So how will you declare the, how will you find out the method? If it is declared with the parenthesis, then you can get the clarity which is belonging to method, right? So constructor is also special method in Java. Then you can mention parenthesis, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. Okay, and rule number 2 is constructor should not have the return type. No need to mention the return type. Okay, and from here to here, this is the scope of the constructor. This is the scope of the constructor. Inside this constructor, you should mention the logic. Inside constructor, you should mention the logic. Okay, are you guys clear with my point? Constructor, while writing the constructor, we need to follow the two rules. First rule is class name and constructor name should be the same. Second rule is constructor should not have the return type. So if I mention the return type, note point is if I mention the return type, if you write the return type, then it will be treated as the method only. If you write the return type, if you write the return type, then it will be treated. It will become method. It will become method only. Are you guys clear with my point? For example, here if I mention the void, then it will be treated as the method only. Okay, this is not a constructor. This is the method. So while writing the constructor, constructor shouldn't have the return type. Okay, if you write the return type, then it will become method only. Then it will become method only. The constructor main purpose is it is used to initialize the instance variables of the current class. It is used to initialize the instance variables of the current class. Okay. This is clear. Next point is at the time of object creation. At the time of object creation, constructor will be executed. Constructor constructor will be executed. Constructor will be executed. So object creation meaning calling the constructor only. Object creation meaning calling the constructor only. Calling the constructor only. I will show you how it should be. For example, the syntax for the constructor is normally how will you create the object? This is the class you can assume. Public class demo is the class. So how will you create the constructor? How will you create the object? New operator, new, and then class name is the demo, and then semicolon, right? Now if you see, this is the constructor object, you have created the object, right? Now according to the constructor rules also it is the same, meaning creating the object meaning calling the constructor only, calling the constructor only. Okay, so next point is constructor is mandatory for creating the objects. Constructor is mandatory for creating the object. Constructor constructor is mandatory for creating the objects. For creating the objects, okay. So creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. Calling the constructor only. So this is the syntax for this one. And the next point is in class if you don't write constructor, if you don't write constructor, then JVM it will provide default constructor. JVM it will provide default constructor, default constructor, default constructor. So how will you find out the default constructor? So that is command for Java P and class name. Java P and class name. Okay. Next point is if you write the constructor, then the JVM will not provide any default, will not provide any constructors. If you write the constructor, then JVM will not provide. JVM will not provide any default constructors. Any default constructors. any default constructors. Are you guys clear with my points? So creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. Calling the constructor only. If you don't write the constructor, then JVM by default it will provide the default constructor. So for any class, constructor is also mandatory. If you don't provide, then JVM will provide by default constructor. Okay, if you write any constructor, then if you write any constructor, then JVM will not provide any default constructors. Then JVM will not provide any default constructors. Okay. After this, the next point is constructors are divided into two types. Constructors are divided into two types. Constructors are divided into two types. What are the two types? First one is zero parameterized constructor. Second one is the parameterized constructor. First one is zero parameterized constructor and second one is parameterized constructor. Second one is parameterized constructors. Parameterized constructor. Are you guys clear with my point? So constructor is divided into two types. One is the zero parameterized constructor. Second one is the parameterized constructor. Zero parameterized meaning there is no parameters. Parameters already know. Parameters are the values which will give to the input to the method, block, constructor, anything. So here zero parameterized meaning there is no parameters. So how the syntax here it should be, if you can take the class name public class and then you can take the demo as the class name, and from here to here this is the scope of the class, and inside the class you can declare with the demo, and then from here to here this is the scope of the constructor. Now I'm not passing any parameters, then we can say that is the zero parameterized constructor. Okay, and then the same logic I'm taking from here to here, and here what I'm doing, I am passing some parameters. If I pass any parameters into a comma into b, then what does it mean? It is the parameterized constructor. So under the parameterized constructor we'll be having one more topic, that is the overloading. Constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. Constructor overloading meaning it will contain same constructor signature, but we will pass the different parameters actually. So I will show you here. So I'm copying the same thing and I'm coming down, and then same signature with the two parameters, and then again same signature. Here I will pass the three parameters into c. So like this. Overloading meaning same constructor signature we will pass different parameters. Okay. So now we'll see practically one by one. Now we'll come down. So creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. Now you can see what I will do. Simply I'm removing all this. This one also I will remove. Okay, as of now this is clear. We have the driver class, right? So while writing the constructor, we need to follow two rules. What are the two rules? First one is the class name and constructor name should be the same. Okay. Okay. Rule number one is done. And next rule number is constructor don't have any return type. Okay. And this is also special method in Java, right? Then this is also method, right? How will you declare the method? We can declare with parenthesis. From here to here, this is the scope of the constructor. Now here I am passing some dummy message. I would say sysout, and here I will pass some message that is driver. I can mention parent constructor calling, parent constructor calling, parent constructor calling. Okay, I'm saving this one, and then I will take the main method. I will take the main method. Okay, now you can observe creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. Normally, how will you create the object? By using the new operator, new, and I will mention driver. Okay. Now, if I execute this file, then what should I get? What I will get? I have created the object, right? Creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. So no need to explicitly no need to call one more time. Whenever you are creating the object, then creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. Now you can see I am saving the file, and then I can run the file, run Java application, and then you can see parent constructor is calling, right? Creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. Calling the constructor only. Without constructor, we cannot create the object also. Whenever you are creating the object, class name and constructor name should be the same. Constructor should not have the return type, even void also. And this is also one special method in Java. So that's why we will declare with the parenthesis. Those are the three rules. And then creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. Creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. Okay? Calling the constructor only. Now I will come to here. I will create one more file, test document. Okay, here I would like to mention the class name is test.java. I will open the file. Now I will take public class name is the test. From here to here, this is the scope of the test. Okay, I'm saving the file. So in this file, I don't mention any main method, and then I am not written any constructor, right? Okay. Now we can come to the location file location, and you can open command prompt. Now you can compile Java C, our file name, which is basically demo.java, right? And then Java P. Now if you observe, so I have written only class demo, right? But by default, it is providing one constructor, that is the default constructor. Okay, if you write, it won't provide. If you not write, by default JVM will provide one constructor. This is the default constructor. Are you guys clear with my point what I'm saying? So if you write, it won't provide. If you not write, then it will provide the default constructor. Then how will is there any proof? You are saying the you are saying default constructor. Is there any proof? This is the proof. Okay, how will you find out? First you should compile, and this is the command for find out the default constructor. Okay, so in this file I'm not write this default constructor. I'm not write any constructor. If any class does not write, you won't write any constructor, then JVM it will provide default constructor. JVM it will provide default constructor. Okay, so what is the command? This is the command. You can come here. If you don't write constructor, then JVM will provide default constructor. JVM will provide default constructor. This is the syntax. This is the syntax. Okay. This is the syntax. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So zero parameterized constructor meaning no parameters, no parameters. Now this is the examples for the zero parameterized constructor. So here also we are not passing any parameters. So this is the example for the zero parameterized constructor. Okay, now we'll go with parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor meaning passing some parameters. Now I would like to take some driver, and then from here to here, here I will pass some parameters like int a comma int b. Okay, and then here I'm doing some addition operation like that. Okay, so the addition operation which belongs to, I will take some int sum equal to a plus b. Okay, and then sort statement, here I will pass sum. I'm saving this one, and then now can I execute the file? Parent constructor is calling. Now here you should pass the values, which is 10, 12. I can mention some 30. Okay, and then save, and then you can run the file. You are getting the values, right? So first object is for first constructor, second object is for second constructor. Are you guys clear with my point? So basically constructors are divided into two types. One is the parameterized, zero parameterized constructor. Second one is the parameterized constructor. Zero parameterized constructor meaning there is no parameters. Okay, without parameters we will write the logic. We have the parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructors meaning we will pass some parameters. With the parameters we will write the business logic. We will write the business logic. So constructor no need to call explicitly. Whenever you are creating the object, meaning calling the constructor only. If you create the object, if you create the object, it will call the constructor only. It will call the constructor only. Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear or confused? Okay, I will take one more class. No, not required class also. This is zero parameterized constructor. This is the parameterized constructor. Okay, and the next point is constructor overloading. Constructor overloading meaning, so the same constructor which is we will pass the different parameters, and based on the different parameters you can say overloading. For example, now here I am passing two parameters, right? Instead of passing two parameters, I will pass the three parameters. Instead of passing two parameters, I will pass the three parameters. For example, int c. Okay, now what I will do, I will do the addition a plus b plus c, a plus b plus c. Okay, I'm saving this one, and then now what I will do, so I will take the new driver, and then here I will pass the values, that is some 10, 20, comma 40, comma 40, right? Okay, now I can save the file, and then so if you see 42, 70. So same constructor signature is the same, but we are passing the different parameters actually, different parameters. So if you pass the different parameters, then you can say this is the overloading, constructor overloading. We have passed here two parameters. We have passed here three parameters. This is called constructor overloading. Are you guys clear with my point? So types of constructors are divided into two types: zero parameterized constructor, parameterized constructor. Zero parameterized constructor meaning no parameters. Parameterized constructor meaning will pass the some parameters based on the requirement. And again, parameterized constructor also, if you write the more, if you pass the more parameters, then you can say constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. Okay, so all of you guys, can you please read all this point from here to here? What is the first point? Constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize the instance variables of the current class. Uh, and second point, class name and constructor name should be the same. In constructor, we have to follow two rules. What is the first rule? Class name and constructor name should be the same. Next one, constructor should not have return type, even void also. Okay, this is the syntax. Next, if you write the return type, then it will become method only. Okay, next, at the time of object creation, constructor will be executed. Next, object creation meaning calling the constructor. Calling the constructor only. Object creation meaning calling the constructor only. Next, constructor is mandatory for creating the objects. Constructor is mandatory for creating the objects. Next, in class, if you don't write constructor, then JVM will provide default constructor. Okay, so is there any proof? This is the proof. Meaning this is the command for to check the default constructor. Next, if you write the constructor, then JVM will not provide any default constructor. JVM will not provide any default constructors. Okay. Next, constructors are divided into two types. What are the two types? Zero parameterized constructor. Next one is the parameterized constructor. Zero parameterized constructor. Next one is the parameterized constructor. Zero parameterized meaning we will not provide any parameters. Parameterized constructor meaning we will provide some parameters. Based on the parameters, again it can categorize into overloading. Overloading meaning we will take the same constructor signature, we will pass the different parameters based on the requirement. We will pass the different parameters. Then we can say that is the constructor overloading. Then we can say that is the constructor overloading. Okay. So this is the thing about the constructors. If anyone will ask what is the purpose of constructors, meaning constructor is initialized to, which is used to initialize the instance variables, which is used to initialize the instance variables. So we'll see through the document as well. I have shared these all the questions already, right? Java features, JDKJR and JVM. In the chapter number 3, these questions I have shared. Switch case. patterns. So these questions I have shared or not? Like what is the operator, difference between the rational and logical operators. I'm not shared, right? This one also I will share. So if you attend any interview, fresher level or any level, so these are the questions. If you have the answer of these questions, then you can manage fresher level interview and 2 years of experience interview also can manage. Next, we're done with the arrays. In the OP number part 1, we're done with class and object, types of variables, methods we done, constructors. Calm down, methods, combinations, and then next types of methods. Method constructors. This is the constructors, right? If you read the first line, when we declare the instance variables not initialized with any value, then automatically initialize with the default values. Okay, and the next point is if you want to initialize the instance variables with our own values, then we can initialize the instance variables in following two ways. In following the two ways, one is that at the time of declaration, and the second one is the at the time of constructor. Meaning, I will show you. Normally, we can assume this is the class, and instance variables meaning the variables which are declared inside the class and outside the method, constructor or block. Okay. Now, here if I take some variables which are belong to like int some age, okay, and then second one I would like to take some name, string name, okay. Now these two are the instance variables. I can pass values in two ways. One is directly like this is the one way, and second way is this is the one way, right? We can directly pass the values. This is the one way. Second way is we can pass the values by using the constructor. That is the point here. So that is the point here. At the time of declaration is the one way. Second way is the using the constructor. Using the constructor is the second way. Next, a constructor is a special method that is used to initialize the instance variables. Okay, you don't declare the constructor in class, then JVM build default constructor for that class. This is known as default constructor. Okay, next, while writing the constructor, we need to follow the rules. What is the rules? Class name, constructor name must be the same as the class name. Class name and constructor name should be the same. Next, constructor cannot take any return type, but if you write any return type, then the code is valid, but it is considered as the normal method only. Okay. Next, we cannot return any value from the constructor. Okay. Constructor can take only one or parameters. Okay. Meaning default constructor meaning no parameters. And where you have the zero parameterized constructors and parameterized constructor. So this is the syntax for the zero parameterized constructor. And uh, now if you see here, this is the instance variables, right? Int age, string name, and I am passing some values int a and int n directly. Age equal to a, and name is equal to n, meaning I am initializing the instance variables. Here I am passing, here I am calling. Are you guys clear with my point? I will show you that one practically. Now I will remove this all. This one also I will remove. Okay. While writing the constructor, we need to follow the two rules. What are the two rules? Class name and constructor name should be the same. Okay. And from here to here, this is the I have taken the default zero parameterized constructor. Now the main purpose of the constructor is to initialize the instance variables, right? For that purpose, here I would like to take some int age equal to I'm declaring I'm not initializing actually. I'm declaring the only variables. Next here I would like to take the sum string name. Okay, we can pass in two ways. Directly you can pass here. Okay, directly you can pass. That is the one way. That is the one way, and you can pass the values using the constructor also. How will you pass? So here you can take some parameters. For example, int a, comma. Second one is the string. You can mention some b. Now directly you can pass the values a is equal to a, and then next one is name equal to b. Name equal to b. So what we are doing generally, we are initializing the instance variables. We are initializing the instance variables. Instance variables. So this is the one way to initialize the instance variables. Now, okay, fine. I'm saving this one. I will come to here. Main method. I will come to main method. And here also directly you can mention like you can take this sort statement. Here you can mention with the this is the age, right? You can directly mention int age, and then we can take one more sysout statement. Sysout statement. Here we can directly mention name. We can directly mention name. Okay, and you can save the file. Now we can come down. We can create the object. Object creating the object meaning calling the constructor only. Now we can pass the values. So it is throwing the error, right? So meaning arguments. We need to add the arguments. Okay, arguments. There is a difference between the arguments and parameters. Parameters are the values. We will pass the values into the methods, but here the value arguments are the values will give input to the constructors. This is the input. Now here we have taken should add the arguments, right? The argument should be first one is the int argument, second one is the string argument. Okay, now I would like to give the arguments here, that is some 50, and here I would like to give some, that is I would like to mention some Raju, some Raju. Okay, and I'm saving this one, and then if I run this one, I can get the 50 and Raju. How I am getting? Using the constructor. What is the purpose of the constructor? To initialize the instance variable. Okay, to initialize the instance variables. This is also very important. Okay, are you guys clear with my point? So we can initialize in two approaches. One is the directly can initialize here, and second one is the through the constructor. Through the constructor. How will you initialize? Simply can pass the parameters. What we are doing? This is the parameter. Parameter, and this one is the current class instance variables, right? So we are initializing the instance variables. We are initializing instance variables. Initializing meaning passing the value. Normally, here also we are passing the parameter. We are passing as the value for this variable. Okay. So this is the thing. The main purpose of the constructor is to initialize the instance variables of the current class. To initialize the instance variables of the current class. Okay. So these are the points should remember in case of constructors. In case of constructors. Okay. Now today what you guys will do? Total we can take zero parameterized constructor one, and constructor overloading, that is the one assignment. Third assignment is the this one. We can take two properties like int age or any. In your case, you can take any other properties also, and you can initialize those properties by using the constructor, and then you can print those constructors. You can print those constructors. Okay, this is your task, and these points you can read these points. Okay. So this is all about constructors. The main purpose of the constructors is to initialize the instance variables. To initialize the instance variables. Generally, here initialization is optional, right? At the time of instance variables, we discussed already. So here nobody cannot initialize. If you see any real-time projects, nobody cannot directly initialize here. If you initialize like here, that is the hard coding. That is the hard coding. You can initialize like this also, but this way is not recommended. Why? Because this is the hard coding. Hard coding. Okay, so hard coding nobody is recommended. So that's why instead of this one, we will initialize the instance variables by using constructor, by using the constructors. Okay, and then so next topic we have the this keyword and then access specifier. So this is also very important topic. Okay, now if you see public class demo, and we will write a main method, right? Main method is public static void main, and we will write the string args. Okay, and from here to here, this is the scope of the. Okay, now if you see, we done with the arrays, meaning this is the array part, right? This is the reference variable name, and whatever the statements we will write inside this one. So everything will be stored in the format of arrays. Okay, this is the one topic we done. We discussed it. We already discussed with this topic. Okay, that is fine. Next, methods topic we done, right? So basically, the methods initially the methods is divided into predefined methods and user defined methods. Predefined methods and user defined methods. User defined methods. Again, user defined methods is divided into two types. That is instance methods and static methods. Second one is the static methods. Now, in the predefined methods meaning already it is declared by the JDK people. Now, this is also come under the category of predefined method. Okay. Now, what does it mean? Why it means the method want to return anything. So here the main method also it won't return anything. It will whatever the logic will write inside the main method, that logic it will execute. That is the purpose of the main method. Okay. Next one is the static. Static is the keyword, right? So at the time of loading the dot class files into the JVM, so immediately it will allocate the memory for the main method actually. Main method. Okay. Okay. Are you guys clear with my point? And next one is the access specifier. So access specifiers topic we will discuss tomorrow. Access specifiers topic we will discuss tomorrow. Okay. So with this we complete this part, and we complete this part, and we discuss this part, and we discuss this part. We discuss this part. So now we need to remember anything. No need to remember anything, right? So each word void has the different story, main has the different story, this has the different story, right? So in the similarly we have the for this also we have the different story. For this also we have the different story. At the time of writing the methods constructors, we will not mentioning any access specifier, right? So if you not mention any access specifier also, no worries. By default JVM will provide the default constructor, default access specifier. So that one we will discuss tomorrow. That one we will discuss tomorrow. Okay. So this is the thing basically. Okay, once we complete this topic, then we have covered all this structure actually. We have covered the methods, arrays, and then method combinations, and then access specifiers. Access specifiers. Okay, that's it today. So we can do the